Mike's hot.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the Padawan Podcast. We're co-hosts Steve and Ollie, a.k.a. the Padawans. And here we're bringing you our end of season of the Mandalorian review. Coming in hot. Welcome, everybody. Ollie,
What's going on?
how's it going?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm a little bit sick, so mind the hacking and the...
You sound fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure I do. So we kind of skipped over episode 7 with our reviews. So this episode we're gonna touch upon episode 7
And 8.
and 8, and we're gonna go in depth and just talk about our reactions and what we saw that, especially with episode 8, with some of the Easter eggs that happened. So let's start off. What was your reaction to episode 7 when you first saw it?
Yeah, I mean 7 and 8. I'm gonna combine them in my mind because it's almost like 1 and 2 to me. They really are the same the same storyline.
Yeah.
Part of my reaction video in 7 and 8 was just saying that this was what we talked about the whole season. Is we went from kind of the first episode and second episode seemed like we were gonna get more of the typical now miniseries things where it's it's like an 8-hour movie, right?
Yeah.
Then we went 3, 4, 5, 6 that were all kind of serial episodes, like episodic TV. And I by 6, we reviewed it and I was like, all right, I'm just I guess that's what it's going to be, which is fine. My expectations weren't there, right?
Yeah.
And now 7 and 8 were what we want. It's almost like
That's
it went 1, 2, 7, 8. You know, in a way, the other stuff was great, but it ends up being kind of filler. I can go back and watch it now and have fun because I know that it's not really getting into the storyline and the episodes are fun. It's just on a whole, I feel like it's two different things, right? 1, 2, and 7, 8 were the plot, the bigger movie that these TV shows do now, that thing that I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
And then 3, 4, 5, 6 were episodes of something that you feel like the TV show should have 20 episodes, which I'd be happy either way. Yeah. And I'm happy with what we got. I just think it seemed mixed to me, right? It seems like two different kind of things. 1, 2, and 7, 6, 1, 2, and 7, 8 feel like the movie style that's takes Game of Thrones, really good info.
Episode 3, I would throw episode 3 in that.
Not really. Episode 3 is when he goes to Sorgan and finds Cara Dune, and it's just when you look at it, nothing really advanced. There's always a bounty hunter going after Yodi.
Wait, that was episode 4.
What's episode 3?
The Mandalorians, when they all come out and they...
Oh, when he goes back. So 1, 2, 3. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8. My bad. You're right. Feel that's the big long-term, Game of Thrones, the big arc that you take a long time and dig into it, right?
Yeah.
And then 4, 5, 6 felt like the episodic, we're getting 20 episodes, every week's kind of a slightly new thing, and we'll kind of build into the Baby Yoda thing. Anyways, I'm taking too long on a basic. I loved 7 and 8. This is really what I thought it was going to be and what I wanted, and this delivered on it. We still have some questions, which is great because we're going to have season 2. It didn't just answer everything for you, but we got a new badass character in Moff Gideon.
Yep.
The Mandalorian put together the team finally, like we had talked about with Cara Dune and Queel and IG-11.
And Creed.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I thought it was a little different than I thought was going to happen. But yeah, basically Grief Karga comes back and joins up. So that was fun. I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. Down to the very last thing with the Darksaber. It was everything I asked for, everything I wanted in my mind, a good overarching story that leaves it open for season 2, but also digs into some of the canon, like me and you have both talked about with the movies. It's fun, but the movies basically ignore anything that's not the movies. They just kind of you know what I mean? I mean, they added some stuff in Rise of Skywalker, but not like this. This is, you know what I mean?
The only one thing that ties to Rise of Skywalker, spoilers if you haven't seen them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this yet by now.
Yeah.
The healing thing in episode 7, which at the time I didn't realize that would be the thing.
Yeah.
Because then we had the sneak preview at the end of episode 7. I was like, this is what everyone was talking about. I was like, that's kind of
right. Yeah.
underwhelming. I'm like, okay, cool, we got a sneak peek, great, but like, I thought there was gonna be something in the episode that tied back, and obviously it's the force healing thing, which was really cool to see. So now
Yeah.
that leaves that question open.
Yeah. So what did you think? 7 and 8. Like, what was your basic reaction to
it? I mean, I liked them.
Yeah.
I thought canon wise. I mean, when I saw the Darksaber, I flipped out, and everyone, not everyone, Breno, she was like, "What are you freaking out about?" And I'm like, "So motherfucking Darksaber, like you don't get it." Like,
it's cool to see it in live action.
It's
right?
cool
It's
to see it in live action. I don't there's so much lore behind it that if you're an average Star Wars fan, it's kind of funny like watching that. You'd probably be like, cool, it's a dark, like you wouldn't understand.
It almost looks white because the white outline instead like makes it, but it's cool that they
do a brought to life
the Darksaber.
Yeah,
to just kind of, because now that people are going to be interested because it's not just in Clone Wars. You know what I mean?
There was so much reaction though, like from even just some of my friends that they haven't watched Clone Wars,
didn't know what it
they
was,
haven't watched Rebels, they have no fucking clue what's going on. So it's like when you see that, if you and
it's not just a cool one; it has so much lore.
Yeah, there's a ton to it. It tied back to the Jedi, which is also cool
and Mandalorians, which is a really neat.
Yeah, so it kind of ties everything together. So I love both episodes. I love the ending. Moff Gideon, he's a dipshit. Great, perfect, fits the role
Moff.
perfectly. Yeah, perfect Moff dipshit. So he's good. Everything I saw. I mean, I couldn't have. This is what I wanted because I was specifically like, I don't want this to be episodic because this is gonna bore the shit out of me. They finally gave us something. It set up season 2. I think there's gonna be season 2. There's gonna be more episodic stuff because it's just
seems like that's the way they're gonna go, right? Like
yeah, because I mean we don't really have a huge plot at the end of season 2. It's kind of like all Moff's there.
Yeah, I feel like it may be almost the same thing. You may have the first couple episodes that set up what Moff Gideon is going to do.
Yeah,
and then we'll probably go into like a bunch of episodes of just like Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian like hopping around trying to find Yodis.
Yeah,
and then maybe at the end we get some kind of answer. I think it really depends too on like, and I guess we'll only know later, but like if there's a season 3. Or if it goes, all right, season 2, we're going to complete the story. No, they haven't. But that's my point. If like they're going to know before they finish season 2, if they're probably going to have a season 3. You know what I mean? So like, it'll be interesting to me to see if like, because if Favreau and Filoni know like we're only doing 2 seasons, then the story is going to have a little bit more of an ending.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if season 3 is a possibility, even maybe not right away, but if it is a possibility, it'll end with more questions.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see because I think this may be like a little bit of a bold prediction, but if there is no season 3 and they know ahead of time, so the story's wrapped up, I think you may see them finally like say what Yoda's species is, whether it's given a name or they find another one. I think that'll happen. If there is going to be a season 3 and more, I think it may not even. Yeah, you may not even get close in season 2. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's the thing. I think
it depends on George Lucas if he's willing to.
Lucas isn't gonna have say, but he does with Filoni because that's Filoni trained under him. So whatever happens, Filoni it will be influenced by.
Right.
I think Filoni and Favreau. I think I heard this somewhere. They talked with Lucas. Lucas was on the film set of this for a little while.
Yeah.
I think they both know what's gonna happen. Like with the Yodi series, I think Lucas has either given them.
It's crazy if Favreau's involved in like
because unbelievable.
No, I know, but like
whenever
it's funny because I always knew him from he's an elf, which we just came back from the holidays, and it's like that was one of his first movies, and
that he was in.
Yeah,
no, wasn't he in like an old movie where he was like about? Anyways, yeah,
one
elf.
First.
Yeah.
And then secondly, he's like he's in all the Iron Man movies. Like it's so funny.
He did Iron Man, right?
Yeah, no, he is.
Basically created.
He's one of the producers. Universe. Like he's in. Like it's just funny seeing how like he's an Iron Man and he's like the
butler guy,
the butler, limo driver, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's fucking directing Mandalorian. Like it's like it's really cool.
He's like in a way, right? Like he's the one that's like untouchable, kind of like because basically Iron Man started the MCU. Like of what we know now, like it really brought it to.
Yes, there's disputes on that,
but
yeah.
it was the big one.
Yes.
I'm saying
the first one.
I'm saying it launched it as in like it was big enough that the rest could then go.
Because Hulk sucked.
So,
I'll get that on the record.
Okay.
For all the people that like the Hulk, they suck.
But he's like almost I don't want to say the anti J.J. Abrams because I like J.J. and I think he did a good job. But like a lot of people don't like what J.J. did with Star Trek and don't like what he did with Star Wars.
I thought Star Trek was awesome.
Yeah, but I'm saying the Trek fan, like there was a similar backlash to what The Force Awakens. I get it.
Chris Pine is
all I'm saying is
like whatever.
Favreau's been Marvel and Star Wars, and everyone is like in love with everything he does. Like he's hit the gold mine. But anyways, so you love him. So you want to get into like some of the stuff we missed, or was there something specific that you wanted to dive into about that?
Yeah, let's just let's just talk about what everyone might have missed. Like it, there was a shit ton of stuff. Like we're talking about the Darksaber already.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like canon-y legend stuff that was like all throughout it. So there's, I guess I'll try to start in like a general order,
and maybe we could like tie it back to like the biggest thing I find when we do this, and for listeners is that they'll be like, all right, where can I watch this or whatever?
Gotcha. So that's to tie it back in. Okay.
So like with a few of my friends, I've said like, you gotta watch Clone Wars, you gotta watch Rebels for like specific things. So it's like
so I'll try to go in a general order. And some of this stuff. So like I just write down stuff that I notice. Like obviously I do the species stuff. So Cara Dune in 7 is fighting as a Zabrak. There's like this blue alien in the background that's kind of cool that I don't think has been named yet.
Yep.
Obviously I think. In 7, one of the biggest moments is Queel when he sits down and is talking to them. He says he worked in like the gene farms and said that Baby Yoda is not. He
confirms that.
I guess you can look at it every way. He doesn't specifically go. He's not a clone, so like they could go back on it, but he basically says he doesn't strike me as a clone. He's too evolved, like too different. And then he kind of throws Cara Dune under the bus and says, like, you look like someone from... I'll have to write it down. He mentioned something, which I wonder if it will come back up in canon, like the pits of something, like a cloning facility. We'll get to it. But so I thought that was interesting because it takes the cloning thing from what a lot of people thought Baby Yoda was a clone, and what we were saying was basically we didn't think he was a clone. We thought the cloning people were trying to get stuff from him. Right. And I think long term, I think that may play a part. Small or big, I don't know what part, but that'll play a part in what actually happens with Palpatine. I think this is all the precursor to getting Palpatine back alive and cloning and the Snoke stuff. I think they're getting this DNA. I think we'll see eventually in canon. It may take a long time with the books and stuff and comics to get there, but I think this Baby Yoda, them trying to get the DNA, and I think they got some, but like them wanting the Yoda species, is going to have a play into what eventually happens with Palpatine. I think that's all coming from Palpatine.
Yeah, probably.
Or Palpatine's spirit, however they end up explaining it.
Oh, good God. Yeah.
So, I mean, some stuff, right, is just like it's better left kind of vague. If they get into the specifics,
here's the thing. Like, if everyone's going to... So the people that are like with Rise of Skywalker that are saying it didn't tie up everything. Well, would you be happier if it tied everything up?
Yeah,
we would literally have nothing.
We don't need to get. I think we talked about it a little bit with like people in the original trilogy just watched it as a movie and didn't need to know everything about Palpatine, didn't need to know everything about Vader, didn't need like these things are part. But because it's so big and there's so much canon, now everyone thinks like God, the movie could be 6 hours long and it still wouldn't be able to explain everything. So you just gotta let
impossible.
it go. But they will in canon with the books and comics, and we'll get into it. They will eventually explain kind of what happened there. So all I'm saying is I think this Yoda species, the child, I think what's happening in Mandalorian is because of Palpatine. Like they're trying to get DNA from him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Whether it be a small part or a big part. The Yoda healing, like you talked about.
Ties right to Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, and that's a relatively new force power. There were Jedi healers, we just haven't seen it in like canon specifically. They hint at it in.
I was gonna say I don't. Yeah, where?
No, there were Jedi healers as part of the Jedi Order. They didn't like specifically show them in the Clone Wars doing it. I'm just saying like that was a path. They hinted at it a little bit with one of the Jedi trainees from Luke in the Kylo Ren thing. He like takes the pain, like he can like if you're injured, he can like it seems like he like touches you and he can take your pain.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like he could heal. So maybe that's the beginning of it. So they're hinting at this thing being a power, and I think they're gonna dive into it a little bit. So that one. Death Troopers again, so that's from Rogue One and Rebels, and so like that they're in there. The Fire Trooper,
the Flame Trooper,
is from I believe first seen in Force Unleashed video games, so that's pretty cool.
Oh,
that's a
that's
random
right.
kind of that exact paint job, in other words. So that was neat.
And Force Unleashed is not canon.
No,
so
no.
That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, the guy that plays the main character is based off of Sam Witwer, who voices Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, and does Palpatine too.
He does, really?
Yeah, in the Clone Wars.
I didn't know
he's that model character, and he was Starkiller or whatever. So he was joking on Twitter saying like, "Oh, you made the Flame Troopers real, so." By coordination, Starkiller's canon. He's like joking. He's a big like Star Wars canon guy. Which is cool.
Yeah.
Gideon was neat. Good. Like I feel like he has some history that we're gonna see. I think we may see, like you're saying about telling people like where to watch. Yeah. We may see Gideon show up in the Clone Wars, the last season of Clone Wars that's coming to Disney Plus in February, because he talks about the Siege of Mandalore. Now, it doesn't mean he didn't say specifically he was there, but he talks about it a little bit more intimately, and he knows the Mandalorian's name, Din Djarin, and Din says like the only person that would like I haven't used that name in forever, so the only person that could know that name would be someone who like was on Mandalore and took the list or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. We're going to see that play out. So we may see that thing that he talks about when he names Din Djarin and said, maybe you've heard of the songs of the Siege of Mandalore and the fields that they mowed down Mandalorian recruits called the Night of 1,000 Tears. So it seems like that's going to be at least mentioned, maybe like really dug into in the last season of Mandalorian. Because what people who are just getting into canon or aren't 100% on like the back end of stuff, you should know that a big influence in this show
is Clone Wars. Is
Dave Filoni, who wrote Clone Wars and basically created the new canon for Mandalore and Mandalorians, and he's very much involved in this. So it won't be surprising.
And he did Rebels too.
Yeah, so it won't be surprising if this all connects. It should probably because it came from his mind, so he's going to connect it. The Darksaber, like we talked about.
Yep.
You said some people are saying that they think he may have taken it from Paz Vizsla, who is
Vizsla's son.
So to get a little nerdy, people are saying this because two things. Vizsla was wearing blue armor, which the Death Troopers are famously wore blue armor. Actually, the Death Troopers are you see. Death Watch. Sorry, not Death Troopers, right? Correct. Death Watch, which you can see my What's a Mandalorian video, breaks it down pretty good. But Death Watch is who saves Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. You see that guy come down and save him and lift off that patch on his shoulder with the blue armor is Death Watch armor. So that
Do we know what planet that is?
No, we still don't.
Yeah, so it's not Mandalore though. It's not.
He says it's not Mandalore. Well, he says he wasn't born on Mandalore.
Yeah,
which makes it pretty likely that that's not Mandalore.
Yeah, could be the same system though.
Yeah, probably it may be in Mandalorian space. It could be anywhere. It sounds like they went out and got recruits and tried to save kids for fountain.
So there's another backstory that could play. So
what some people are saying, to simplify, is that the leader of Death Watch at the time was Pre Vizsla.
Yep. And
that Paz Vizsla, the guy with the big machine gun in Mandalorian, the TV show, they're saying that he's related and that he may have the Darksaber because Pre Vizsla once had the Darksaber when he led Death Watch. It gets a little confusing because a couple things. Paz Vizsla, who wears the blue armor and has the big machine gun, they show his name in the credits and it's not spelled the same.
No.
I think because I'm mixing Legends and canon, Vizsla was almost, I could be completely wrong, Vizsla was a big family, like house, in other words, and it's a big name, so I wonder, like, kind of like the Antilles thing, like there's an Antilles in the that is not, like the Antilles that drives the ship away with Leia in Rogue One is not related to Wedge Antilles. It's like the Smith of the galaxy.
No.
So
it's like one. It's like one of those families. It's like the Organas. Like it's the same kind of deal.
But his name isn't spelled correctly. It's like an S instead of a Z, so it could be totally different. The reason I would say real quickly that they could be right because we're 5 years after, so like the Darksaber could be with anyone.
Yeah.
I think more likely what they're going to do is they're going to basically go back to Mandalore. At the end of Rebels, Mandalorians kind of not kick the Empire out, but they have a blow to the Empire, who's kind of taking over Mandalore, and they kind of win back a little bit of freedom. But that's before A New Hope, so the Empire's still in. So I think we're going to find out that like Moff Gideon was in control of that system, or like, and went and basically wiped out the Mandalorians, because then all this stuff that we had talked about, why it doesn't make sense to me.
Bo-Katan and everybody.
I'm not saying that they necessarily died, but I think they get wiped out, and that's why the whole convert thing and everyone's saying...
It could tie back to Sabine and Ahsoka at the end of Rebels, too. Because that means they would be away from that. Right? Because they were away from...
We don't know exactly the timing on that, but that was supposed to be... I think they're saying it was after Return of the Jedi, but I think this would have happened before Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
But you're right. We don't know when this happens.
Yeah.
So it has to happen between... Well, it happens somewhere right before A New Hope to, well, pre this.
Yeah,
I would imagine it happens closer to A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, because in The Mandalorian, the TV show, everyone you kind of meet says like, oh, aren't the Mandalorians all dead? So like, I think it had to happen in there so that the galaxy is kind of aware that they got wiped out.
Yep.
So, because if it happened like a year before The Mandalorian, I think they'd be more like, oh, didn't you guys just get wiped out? Like, I've seen a bunch of you before. Now it's like, it seems like they're almost like the Jedi. Like, people are like, oh, Mandalorian. I thought you were all dead, like, forever. You know what I mean? So, so it's interesting. So, the Darksaber, I think, probably is Moff Gideon. He probably went back to Mandalore and wiped out Bo-Katan, and whether she's dead or not.
I hope not. But that's Star Wars for you.
Yeah. So we got a couple more things. We got I thought the R2 with legs was kind of funny. He drove the boat down it was creepy,
so
kind of.
Weird.
but that was interesting, like the ferryman.
Yeah.
He gets his sigil, which he does end up getting the Mudhorn thing. It looks badass. Cool. I was thinking like, oh, it's a shitty symbol, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, they did it kind of cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And he gets it because originally he denies it because the Yodi helped him and he said it wasn't a loyal kill, and basically now the armor is like, oh, that's the one that helped you. And now he's your foundling, is basically what. So you're a clan of two, and you basically became a clan.
Baby Yoda has a dad.
How about
that? Man, that's so adorable.
Baby Yoda's a Mandalorian.
He's a Mandalorian. What the fuck is going on in Star Wars right now?
I hope he gets a little helmet.
Oh God.
So we got that. The Armorer is still alive. I thought they were writing her out, and then she beats the shit out of the stormtroopers that come up, and they never show it again. And Gideon goes down.
It's Sabine. I'm joking. I don't think it's Sabine, but that would be funny though.
What did I see that made it? If I can't think of this, I won't get. But basically, I saw something that proved that it wasn't that she wasn't Bo-Katan. She says something. Oh, it's not proof, but she talks about the Jedi like she's never seen one. She's like, "Oh yeah, 1,000 years ago they battled against." Which I guess Bo-Katan could pitch it like that.
Just to save
face. To save face. But like, if it was Bo-Katan, to me, she knew Jedi. She saved Obi-Wan. So she would have been much more familiar with the Jedi. But you're right. She could have just told the story kind of thing.
Right.
So Armor still alive. I was pumped about that. He gets his jetpack, which is a big Mandalorian thing. And she says, trained in the art of the rising phoenix.
Yeah, which is cool, interesting.
Because that's the rebel sign. And the rebellion sign is like the phoenix. Yeah. And ends up being the New Republic. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. Maybe not. Maybe it's just because Phoenix are fire and
season 2. We got season 2. That's where hopefully we'll hear about it.
And then really the last quick thing off the top of my head was the cool folding wing tie that Gideon flies. So the tie like comes in and then the wings go like this so it can land. I think that somebody was saying that was taken from like a toy back in the day, or an unused concept, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't read up on
that. I think that's what we're talking about with like Filoni and Favreau in the show, they do cool stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, go do some research and be like, oh, this was an unused thing.
Yeah.
Or a Lego that came out that never got used in a show.
Yeah.
But it's there. Let's make it canon.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just little things that are cool. I think that's neat.
The other thing, the Stormtroopers in episode 7 and 8, the two of them. So
the Scout Troopers
the
that
Scout Troopers.
get Yodi, yeah.
Was it
Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis.
Sudeikis.
Can't even say it now. And then what's his name? Adam Perry. He's Pally. He's
I don't know him, but
he's a comedian.
Yeah.
But that's fun. Like you could kind of recognize the voice a little bit when
I think once
they were talking. I was like, I definitely like the voice. I definitely was kind of like, oh, it's kind of a familiar voice. But I was like, yeah, whatever. Like it's just like it's Scout Troopers.
Through the vocoder, it always makes it sound like the same kind of.
But now it's funny that. Oh, can I see Yoda?
I love the shooting.
Can I see?
They can't hit the friggin' thing right in front of them.
Yeah,
it's like
the 1% hit ratio. You know.
Yeah.
So that I mean, besides that, Cara Dune, that's the only other one
from Alderaan.
I'd say. She's from Alderaan, so
which makes sense.
Yeah,
completely of how she just
hates everybody.
Hates Imperials. Yeah.
Yep. So that was a good Easter egg to see, and then
Cara Cynthia Dune.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into that. I wonder if the Dune family has any other canon references. For some reason feel like I know that name, so maybe it's a Legends thing. I'm pretty sure it's not canon.
Well, there's a book called Dune.
Yeah, well, there's a whole. There's not a whole other thing. Yeah.
But I was actually, with her character, I was glad to see that she had more dialogue. She was more lively in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
I liked her a lot. I thought her character was cool.
Yeah, she wasn't as awkward as she was in the episode.
Yeah, and like we talked about, I think it was more that it's just awkward to talk to someone who doesn't say anything.
He
and can't see the face.
a ton more in these 2 episodes too.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
He definitely opened up, and then especially once Gideon said his name, he kind of like.
Yeah.
It seemed like he loose, but he's been around Cara a lot.
Yeah.
And he's been with Queel a lot now, and Grief, even though they weren't buddies at first. But like, I think he's getting more comfortable. I think it pitches him as a loner for a long time.
Yeah.
And so these things, I don't think he's had anybody to trust other than the other Mandalorians, who none of them seem to
And
talk.
how about Trust taking off his helmet? So that
he doesn't until IG-11, who makes the funny point, like
that was
I'm not alive, dude. So like I can take your helmet off.
The only thing. I was talking with another friend about this.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they didn't do that.
Take his helmet off?
Yeah.
I think they needed to.
I know.
More for like a business thing, but yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's just, there's something about, like, obviously we know what he looks like because he's the actor and, like, whatever. But, there's something about that where it's just, like, that mysteriousness of, like, you can't. I
get it. I feel like it was baked into season 1, like they were going to do it. Like, you know what I mean? It was just one of those things that had to happen.
It's the Viper from.
But he puts his helmet back on.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it doesn't ruin it. It'd be weird. I don't know that I'd like it if, like, in season 2, he takes his helmet off all the time. Like, I hope that's not the thing. You know what I mean?
Because that would ruin. Yeah, that would.
Because I don't know that it ruins it for me, but there is something about, like, even the viewer.
Yeah.
Doesn't get, like, when he eats, he takes his helmet off. Like, his helmet is off at times.
It's a creed. It's a cult. It's like a cult. It's like you don't take your helmet off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it in canon. I'm saying for the viewer, they didn't even let you see him because he takes his helmet off in the village to eat. Yeah. He takes his helmet off he does take his helmet off. Yeah. Just no one sees him do it. But I think they played it effectively where they don't even let the viewer see it. Like we could have seen his face 100 times.
So we were also saying that if with the helmet being taken off, do it from his perspective. Or like from like you only see like maybe like part of side of his face, so then like something like that. They could have, like or like maybe like he takes the helmet off and it's like him up on the rock and you just see him spray the back you don't really see his face, kind of a deal.
I think that's more nowadays. I think it's just simply like, I think it's one of those weird things that they pay these actors and like to see their face. Like it just is what it is. Like I get it. I think it would be cool to not reveal.
Yeah,
because. We knew what he looked like, but we didn't know if he'd be like all scarred up. Yeah, you have no
that would
idea.
be cool. Yeah. But it takes that element out. So that was another thing. So
I did go back and nerd out a little bit trying to figure out the season 5 who walked up to Fennec Shan at the end that everybody was like, it's Boba Fett, which I didn't think so at first, because I don't really.
I still don't.
Him back, but I will say this: the best evidence I've seen so far, because I lightened it up. This is how nerdy I got. I lightened it up and slowed it down so I could see like kind of the general like his boots. You basically see his boots, his like thigh, and the belt strap and the cape from behind. Right? Those are the only things you can really see. Originally, I was just like, it's Moff Gideon, guys. Like they're introducing him secretly before we see him in 7 and 8. You know what I mean? I will say that, not that, again, like anything in a show, like maybe he switched boots. They're not the same boots that Moff Gideon has, very clearly. So it's not.
Oh no.
So to me, it's not Moff Gideon, which is fine. Doesn't mean it's Boba Fett. They also don't match anything Boba Fett's ever worn before. He usually wears like these more of like ankle above the ankle boots, not these full. This guy's wearing like knee-length boots,
almost with like Imperial boots.
Yeah, Han wears boots. Like could be anything. They have like a weird ankle thing. It looks like. I can't tell, even lightening up, if he has like thigh pads, because as it's like one of those things that as it goes quick, there's no clear shot and it's dark. So to me, it looked like he had like a thigh armor piece that had some scrapes on it. But again, the whole thing that's weird about this is like if you go look at Boba Fett, like he didn't wear the same type of armor. Like basically his helmet was similar and his chest piece was similar. Other than that, he doesn't wear like his vambraces don't look exactly the same. No. His pauldrons don't look the same. He doesn't. I think he wears armor, but they're like pockets, almost like football pads, like where you can't see the metal on his legs.
Right.
It doesn't. So it doesn't look like Boba Fett. The one thing I will say that I did not notice that I read from a post is that when you see Boba Fett, I think I forget which movie it is, but when you see Boba Fett once or twice, there's this like radio signal sound that almost sounds like the Hoth, the probe droids on Hoth.
Empire, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying the scene. I don't know what scene it is. That I think it's when he's on Cloud City. But anyways, you hear this like radio tuning in kind of thing when Boba Fett appears in. I'll look it up so you guys can find it yourself, but I'm sure you can Google it. But when that scene clicks in, that same exact sound plays. So to me, like they're definitely hinting that it's Boba Fett with that sound. The rest of it doesn't seem to match. His cape's not that long and isn't like that. The shoes don't match. But I will tell you this, if we're getting into canon, I'll be quick. I know like a lot of people aren't interested, but do you remember in Aftermath, the books?
Yeah. Aftermath
had these little chapters that like broke away from the main storyline and were just like random people throughout the galaxy that had like some were interesting, some weren't. One of them is about a guy, Cobb Vanth, who was like a lawman. They don't get into like a lot of it. Who ends up on Tatooine and kind of like gets rid of some corruption on Tatooine and takes over this free village, Freeman or Freedom Village or something, and helps fight back against cartels.
That was an interesting chapter.
He goes into a Jawa sandcrawler and buys Mandalorian armor that they make you think like, again, nothing's ever said like, hey, it's Boba Fett's armor and he bought it, but basically that's what they're hinting at, that the Jawas had this beat up Mandalorian armor that they got out of the pit of Sarlacc or whatever, and he buys it and wears it. So like that I think would be more likely, because then you get into, okay, he bought the helmet and maybe the chest piece, and some of it was chewed up, some of it wasn't. He wouldn't have the same boots. He may not have the same cape. Like that but if the helmet's the thing making the sound, that would be way more likely. And Aftermath's what, 3 years after Return of the Jedi? It's in this same time period, right?
It's in the same time period.
I mean, this is 5. I think that starts at 3. I don't know when the Cobb Vanth.
When's about Jakku? That's 4, right?
3 or 4, yeah.
It's around 4 years, I think, after.
So anyways, it's an interesting point. I don't think it's Boba Fett, but that sound, I mean, they put that sound in there. They didn't just, that's not like a sound that you use for 100 things. So he specifically put it in there, but I don't think they're bringing back Boba. I think it may be Cobb Vanth. Because it would make sense. He's on Tatooine.
Did he die?
I think he gets beat up at the end. I don't think he dies.
I thought in the book he gets killed.
We'll check it.
Yeah.
If he does, he gets killed and someone else is wearing it. I think it may be Boba's armor or Boba's helmet.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Boba Fett. And I think Cobb Vanth is the most likely. And the other thing too, just real quick, I don't think Aftermath puts a specific time period on the prologue things, on the weird.
That's true.
So like we don't know exactly when it happened.
Right.
We know that the Beast Tamer from Jabba the Hutt's palace, who cries when his Rancor gets beat,
yeah,
that guy recruits him to train like a little Hutt baby. That was part of it too.
Oh my
they
God.
They were like
Yeah,
little chapters. They're kind of weird,
I
but you can look them
that.
up. But look up that sound if you're into it. You can look up like the Boba Fett sound from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's a unique.
Yeah, he has a unique voice. Yeah.
Oh, no, the radio signal.
Yeah.
It's very unique. And then go watch that scene at the end of episode 5.
Yeah.
And it's very clearly that sound. So it's something to do with Boba.
I don't know. I mean, I don't need Boba Fett back either. It doesn't.
No, but that is a cool. If it ends up being Cobb Vanth or someone that stole the helmet, it's a neat little.
I just if it was Boba Fett, then they have a shit ton of explaining to do.
I mean, he survived.
Yeah,
I just don't. What are you gonna do with him after that's the problem.
Yeah,
it's not so much that he survived. Like, good example, they could have left Darth Maul dead.
Yeah,
they didn't, and they did an amazing job with his character. Like a really cool job with everything.
That's true.
Like, if you better have a plan if you're gonna make Boba survive the Sarlacc pit, which I can see. Look, it happens. Like it's Star Wars. Like these. So he survives.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with him? He better not survive to go retire on Sorkin.
Everyone thought Darth Maul was like the best, like one of the best characters of the prequels.
He's one of the best characters in Star Wars with his whole arc at this point. He was amazing.
Well, no, but like
after
in that movie though, like everyone was like, "Holy shit, this guy's like evil as fuck." And
he was great in fandom.
And they killed. I mean, he got killed.
Yeah.
Supposedly killed.
At the time, I'm sure he was planned on death. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we saw that, we were like, "All right, he's dead." But like, you know, it's just that character needed to become brought back. So.
All right. So, anything else specifically to Mandalorian?
What's your predictions for season 2?
Oof. I think probably what I said at the beginning. I think the first couple episodes will dance into what Gideon's plan is going forward, what the Mandalorian's actually gonna do, because he says at the end, I'm supposed to search for this thing's home. So is that directly happening? What's Moff Gideon's goal here? I think we may, depending on what happens in Clone Wars season 7, I think we may get maybe some flashbacks of Gideon maybe killing Bo-Katan, maybe going back, because I think now that you've put it out there, and remember, the show's being written or helped being written by Filoni, who wrote all this, who wrote the backstory to the Mandalorians, and is basically their story. I think now that it's out there and you have a whole season, I think they explain more. They've done flashbacks in the show, so I think they can easily do flashbacks with Gideon. And then I think, so I think it'll take place soon after. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a gap, but and then I think, like I said, I think the main thing will be if there's a season 3. I think it'll just kind of go. Maybe we get maybe he runs into like a former Jedi, because you know what I mean, like something like that that's hiding in the Outer Rim. Maybe he runs into the First Order. You know, that kind of stuff. If there's going to be a season 3, we will not get more. Not a ton more, I don't think, information on Yoda species. If there's no season 3, I think you maybe not the planet, but maybe he runs into another one of Yoda's species. Or we'll learn. My point is, if season 2 is the end of The Mandalorian as we know it, like TV-wise, I think you'll get a lot more information on the baby Yoda and his species and that kind of thing. If there is a season 3, I don't think you'll get much at all.
Okay. You know, I think the Moff Gideon thing. I think what they're gonna do with season 2, what they're ultimately gonna set up is that he's the ultimate enemy to the Mandalorians. I think he's gonna be.
He's the one who took him out.
He's the one that took him out. So I think that's what they're setting it up to be. Is like he is the arch enemy of the Mandalorian.
Do you think he'll find other Mandalorians? Maybe some of the ones that escaped.
I think he'll find some more. I don't think that. I think what they're gonna keep referring to is the Siege of Mandalore, where I'm kind of going off of your prediction that they're gonna have Moff Gideon in the Clone Wars season, in some either reference or he's somehow in it in some form or capacity of it. But I think season 2 is gonna be, they're setting that up. I think to create that dark and light
I forgot to say too, I definitely think we're going to get something with the First Order. I think Gideon's going to have some, because of he's trying to go after the child.
Yeah.
I think he has some kind of direct tie to whatever. Again, it's not explained yet, so we don't know what Palpatine's essence is right now. Like, obviously, he comes back 30 years from then, or 25 years from then. But it is happening, and it makes it sound like it started, because if you get through the visual dictionary, some of the Final Order people, their homeworld, they're like 25 years old, 22 years old. Their homeworld is Exegol. So, like, it seems like this was almost set up before Palpatine died. Like, something's going on Exegol. Yeah. So, like, we know that the First Order was kind of his first plan. Like, his, like, the beginning of the plan. And the Final Order wasn't something just cooked up. Like, he had it going the whole time while the First Order was being built. Yeah. And most of the First Order, other than people like Admiral Pyre or whatever, didn't even know. They thought they were the First Order was it. You know, even Kylo thought that was it, whereas only one or two people knew of the Final Order. So I think Gideon may be that initial link that like is maybe helping them. He knows the First Order's out there, and he's kind of working for them, but he's still in the galaxy as like an ex-Imperial.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not saying that we're gonna like go to Exegol and see him meet with Palpatine's spirit. I just think it's gonna be hinted at that he may be one of the people that's helping the Final Order part or the First Order part.
Maybe.
You think I will say this too. I don't know who. They'll be cooler. There'll be neat canon cameos in season 2. I don't know who it'll be. And I don't know that they'll be main characters, but maybe. Like you're saying, like a Sabine, Ahsoka, I think like something like that.
I think they'll have to. Maybe like a Wookiee or something like that. Like they're gonna bring some
somebody will
nostalgia
be
in there. Yeah. They're gonna have to. I mean, if they don't,
missed opportunity.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, anything they do is missed opportunity. So yeah. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah. We got coming up. Let's kind of set, because we've been off for a week or two.
Yeah, we had a hiatus with the holidays, and I've been sick,
and
so.
I was gone traveling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a Darksaber one soon to kind of put that in a little more context with some visuals to help people who are interested now, because I think people are interested now that it's like we've been
out there
Darksaber forever, and now it comes out and everyone's like, "What's a Darksaber?" But so we'll break that all down. I'll break that all down. We got to do a new podcast to kind of go over the aftermath of Rise of Skywalker and where we're going forward.
Yeah,
because I think that's going to be really fun for us channel wise, because I think it's going to open up a lot of the stuff.
Yep.
And then any book reviews you got coming? Are you going to do any book reviews? I know stuff's kind of.
I don't have anything planned at the moment. Okay. I've been rereading Lost Stars. That's my favorite book in the Star Wars canon novels. So I might do one on that.
That'd be good.
But I mean, going forward, we're definitely gonna do book reviews. It's just timing. Like I said, he's been away for holidays. I've been sick for the last week. I'm still sick. You can hear it. So, but once we get back into the groove, I think we're gonna be putting out some good content and stuff.
Yeah, and let us know what you'd like to see. I mean, another thing on our radar, we want to do like a Star Wars for beginners kind of thing. That if you're into if you want to jump in, but it seems like there's too much, or if you're just into the movies but want to know some of the background, just like some simple 5-minute videos that just go, hey, here's what happened in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Or here's what happened in the prequels. And then we're going to do, hopefully weekly, but probably bi-weekly, a canon spotlight where we pick something in canon, whether it be the Darksaber, Rey's lightsaber, a certain character that we just kind of do like a 5-10 minute video on. And there'll probably be people not from like I'm not going to do one on Luke Skywalker. Like I'll do,
why not?
Well, we can, but I'm saying I'm gonna focus on like some of the stuff that if you're into it a little bit or a lot, some of the characters that you wouldn't know that much about, you know. So,
all right. So, as always, follow us on our podcast streaming services. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The subscribes help us as a channel. We're like we've just discussed, we have a bunch of videos coming out and everything. So other than that, catch you later, Padawans.
Later.